We are at the Jack Daniel's Distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee, and we are going to take the tour at 1:25, I think it is. We're going to take the tour of the Jack Daniel's Distillery. This is one thing you can do up here in Lynchburg. They have a lot of stuff around the square, and if you have time, you'll want to go to Miss Mary Bobo's. It's open for lunch Monday through Saturday, closed Sunday, and we've eaten there before, and they serve you as a large group, just like your family. Everybody sits at a long table, and it's a very unique experience, and I would highly recommend it if you get a chance to come up here. The sun is shining, and it is hot today in Lynchburg. But if you get a chance, go to Mary Bobo's and do the dinner and do the tour if you can. Well worth it.
No e-cigarettes, no smokers, tobaccos, no vapes, just tour policy stuff. And that's really it. That's kind of the needs to know and list of rules. So Wayne's also showing off in more than just the property. We're a pretty big part of Moore County, as you can assume. We're the largest selling whiskey brand in the world. Every drop of it's made right here in Moore County, Tennessee. It goes from here to about 170 countries these days. But we're spread out about 3,000 acres in Moore County. We're not the only thing. It's basically farms, Jack Daniel's, and downtown Lynchburg. Yeah. So if you are looking for something to do, Wayne's going to show off the back corner of downtown Lynchburg if you haven't been yet. That's 2 blocks down. We're a one-stoplight county, so if you want to go down there and hang a left, you're on the square. If you want to drive the way we're driving, we're going down Main Street. It's an easy way as well. And then on a beautiful day like today, and pretty much always in my opinion, I like walking. But you leave the visitor center, you go to the left of the courtyard, you'll see a bridge from the courtyard to the across the creek to Main Street. So it takes you over this, just a little walk bridge, a little footbridge back there. And that'll get you there. It's only about a 5 to 7 minute walk. It's not bad at all. But downtown Lynchburg, the local area, pretty much everything there's to do. Restaurants, shopping, of course anything with the name Jack Daniel's on it you can imagine's down there. Minus whiskey, because we're dry in the sense of sales. So ironically enough, no liquor stores, no bars, no taverns in the home of Jack, the #1 selling whiskey in the world. So we call ourselves the wettest dry county around, or if you want to, call us a damp county if you'd like. So we can sell it from the bottle shop at the visitor center, so that's where you buy your whiskey. And then downtown Lynchburg is the Jack merchandise. Anything you can imagine, pretty much. So that brick building, the backside of it, that's our gift shop. Don't let it throw you. It was built in 1912 to be the Lynchburg Hardware and General Store, so we kept the Hardware and General Store name on it. That honors Lem Motlow, the second owner of Jack, because he's the one that opened the Hardware and General Store, so we'll talk about him later. And then the courthouse down there, it's been sitting there since 1885. So when you're walking around Lynchburg, you're walking in basically living history in a way. So that's still the active courthouse since 1885 in Moore County, Tennessee. So I'll start with the history, just makes sense, then we'll go from there. But Lynchburg used to be Lincoln County. So this was just a small area of Lincoln County, Tennessee, based on the borders of it. And then they decided, well, Lynchburg's too far away from Fayetteville to be the county seat for taking care of voting and stuff like that. So they made a new county. So Moore County was cut out of Lincoln, Bedford, and Franklin in 1871, and Lynchburg became the county seat. So that's history to realize that Lynchburg, originally Lincoln, not Moore. And then also where Jack came from, present-day Lincoln County, Tennessee. So it's called Mulberry. If you go from here dead south about 3.5 miles, you're going to be in Mulberry, Tennessee, at the home of a man named Dan Call back in the day. Dan's house still stands down there, in fact. But Dan's property is where Jack learned to make whiskey, and also where he started the distillery. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So these are barrel houses, and we'll be getting off the bus right in front of one. So if you want to take a really nice photo of one, we'll have it for you in just a couple of minutes. But these are 20,000 barrels apiece. They're 7 floors high. They're basically giant sheet metal barns. There's no climate control. There's no insulation to them. The temperatures get hot in the summer, cold in the winter. So that's going to expand and contract the wood of the barrel. So when the white oak gets hot, it opens up. When it gets cold, it closes down. So the whiskey can go into the wood during the summer, and it gets pushed back into the barrel amongst itself during the wintertime. So we toast it and we char it. Toasting is kind of like a superheating baking process, and then we char it to actually caramelize the sugars. And then from that, all of our color comes from that toasted charred white oak, and most of our flavor also comes from the barrel. So the barrel is your #1 ingredient. We make our own, so we'll talk more about that later on. But we've now got 92 barrel houses, all within about 6 miles, holding anywhere from 20,000 barrels to over 60,000 barrels apiece. Most of our barrel houses are 40,000 barrels apiece. We'll talk more about that, but this is our stop. So y'all make sure you got everything with you. We're not getting back on the bus. But a lot of people think this is gonna smell because, #1, this is charcoal. And when I say charcoal, where does y'all's brain go? What's that make y'all think of?
It was a grill, you know.
Grilling, right? And when I say sugar maple, what do we get from sugar maple trees? Maple syrup. So people start assuming this has something to do with adding flavors. They think it's going to add a sweetness or a smoky kind of woody flavor to the whiskey because we run our moonshine through it, and we'll talk more about that later. But what we use this for is an activated carbon filtration system. So it doesn't have any flavors, it doesn't have any smell. It's just an odorless, natural activated carbon. So picture it like a giant antique Brita filter. We're not filtering water, we're filtering moonshine. So take a look if you want, just don't touch anything yet. So what they're doing in the rick yard is making this stuff. And that's what we get from the burn. So that equals 4 ricks right over there. So a rick is a stack of a measurement of wood. These aren't palletized, there's no nails, no glue. Those are built like giant candy cans, basically. So they take 4 of them, they burn them in about 2 hours, open air style underneath the hood there. The hood's for scrubbing the smoke, it's a clean process. And then from there, make charcoal out of it. It's pretty much the hardest way to make charcoal there is, but Jack did it the open air way, so we do it the open air way. So what they end up with, you'll notice there's a lot of different sizes and shapes. So it can go anywhere from like a marble to the size of like a ping pong or golf ball. So they'll take this stuff and they'll mill it down to a smaller, more consistent piece to use it as the filter, which we'll see later on. So they take it from here, take it over there and mill it, and then I'll show it off later. We'll actually see doing his job. 140 proof moonshine, drip it through 10 feet of it. But take a look and come on this way, watch how sticky. It's pretty cool though. It's just like a bonfire, except we cool it down. A lot of skill to it. They make it look simple because they've been doing this for about 20 years. So Tracy and Darren, Tracy's the ball cap, Darren's the Western style hat. If you've seen and or drank Jack off the shelf that got put there in the past 15 years, you drank whiskey that went through charcoal that Darren and or Tracy made. They are the only 2 guys that do this job. And so they are the charcoal management team. So they make it when they need to, and then they mill it when it needs to be milled down, and they change it when it needs to be changed, which we'll talk more about that later when we actually see it. But they cover it all, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 5 days a week, charcoal production. Darren and Tracy. Tracy's been doing it 21 years, Darren's been doing it about 19.
Right up in there and take a look.
And then what you're seeing, this is what Jack would use back in his day, because this would have been Jack's group. He would have been an outside whiskey maker, this would have been uniform, we didn't license out or cut this out. So you're saying exactly where Jack would have been, basically from 1881 to about 1909, and then the area started going dry. But Jack would use the water for drinking, cooking, fermentation, cooling, also cleaning as well. But anything these days is a little bit different. We can't use water that touches the open air. If it touches open air, we have to treat it. If we treat it, we're ruin the character of the water. So we actually get ours from about 100 yards above. So all you're seeing here is leftover these days. And we're not going to drink it anymore. And we're not going to use it for refrigeration. We're just going to use it for cooking, fermentation, cleaning, and also cooling the rigs. Basically, just anything that makes Jack Daniels. Because if we change your location, we change your water. If we change your water, we change our whiskey. This is same with beers and pistos and bagels and all sorts of stuff. So that's why every drop of Jack is only made in Moore County. Because every drop of Jack in the world starts off that water source right there. That's it. Pretty wild.
That is
See, I'll
wild.
take a look. Follow this way.
I think that water's still good to drink.
So, Jack rarely opened his own office because that was Lynn Motlow's job. By the time Jack builds that building, he's almost in his 40s. He's doing pretty well for himself, very established. He owns 2 saloons in downtown Lynchburg as well. He owns the White Rabbit and Red Dog. So Jack was a late night kind of guy. He didn't open his own office. He didn't open his own safe. That was Lem's job. So one morning, Jack kind of flipped the script. He showed up first and before Lem, which never happened. But they say he's basically in a hurry to get in the safe and leave. Had some travels to do. Doesn't want to get hung up for work. So he comes in, can't get his own safe open, gets frustrated about it. Well, but nobody's here to help him. He kicks the safe with his left foot, shatters his left big toe, doesn't see the doctor about the injury. So basically all those bad decisions lead up to an infection, probably like a gangrene. They start amputating. They take his toe, his foot, below his knee, eventually his entire left leg to his hip. Because 6 years after kicking that safe in there, Jack dies from complications from the infection, from the injury, from kicking that safe. True story. So, easy stuff to think about. We tell that story because there's a lot of lessons to be learned. But obviously, patience, temper, don't get saved, very combination, go to the doctor. But if you're talking number one lesson, you got to think about how it began. Never go to work too early. It could kill you.
It could kill you.
He died about 61 years old in 1911. Well, come on this way. So, when we said introduction, things about it is in reverse order. Don't let it confuse you. We're going to see the distillation before the fermentation. It works the other way around. Also inside, no electronics use. So if you don't want photographs until we step inside, you're good. But once we step inside, y'all put away phones and cameras. Grain, you mill it down to a flour. You add your water from the spring. You get what you call mash. Down here on the bottom floor, you cook it. The cooking gets the starch converted to sugar. And then you ferment. That's when the yeast comes in. And the yeast breaks down the sugars to alcohol. I'll show you that in just a second. And then after fermentation, distillation. So we use 40-foot tall stills. They're called column stills, 100% copper, anywhere from 55 to 75-inch diameter. So you send the beer to the top after fermentation. The fermented beer drops over the top of the column. And as it goes down through there, you're going to heat it with steam. That's going to separate the alcohol off that as a vapor. So the alcohol vapor gets cooled down, condenses to a liquid, and at the bottom it looks like water, but trust me, it's not water. So at that point, what you got is what people like to call moonshine, white lightning, anything like that. With 70% ethanol, 30% organics, and water, typically about 70 gallons a minute, basically all the time. Come on in.
Okay, wasn't allowed to go have any cameras inside because of all. It could create some type of spark and blow up. They had these big fermentation tanks. And come on by, that's fine. Fermentation tanks. And they're making moonshine whiskey. And they're cleaning 2 tanks over here so that you got all that steam coming out.
So that cleaned out our bowl.
It goes to a grilling company in Arkansas, and they make the Jack Daniels smoking pellets. So you get chickens, cows, and pigs fat, you smoke them on the charcoal, you eat them, you drink Jack, circle of life, 100% recycle friendly, and that's it. But other than that, yes sir.
So back in the 1800s, they still have sheet metal buildings, or were they in barns?
Oh, they would have been wood barns, yeah. Oh yeah. Before Prohibition, it would have been some sort of probably wood barn or shed. Everything would have been very different back then. But yeah, post-Prohibition, metal. Yeah. Well, there still could be some.
Those big trenches around the big things, so they just fire protection?
Yeah, fire protection. So if you did have a barrel house go up, you'd be able to contain everything. Because the barrels are going to bust open, you're going to lose liquid, you want to catch it in those things. You don't want to get into waterways. If it gets into waterways, if it's on fire,
yeah,
you're going to have the rivers on fire.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Alright. So if y'all got anything else y'all want to chat about, I'm here for it if they'll let me be. But when we step out of here and we go back up to the visitor center, we'll be stepping inside the area that's got the bottle shop, so if there's one place you can buy Jack. You've also got to the left, you've got etching and the photo. So if you want the photo from the barrel shop, or if you want to get something etched with a name or personalization on it, we can do stuff like that for you. And then downtown Lynchburg is all the rest. Downtown area's got all the rest of it, shopping and eating a lot. But did y'all get time? Yeah. Good. It's always different. It might just be some here. You might have a again. You might get something else. It's always different for sure. Watch us step. Come on,